grand welcome to all of our panelists here today. So, I'm just going to talk about what our panel is here about. So, in today's attention economy, stories fight against endless scrolls and restless swipes. So, our panel here today, from stillness to swipe, reimagining storytelling for the distracted eye. It invites audiences to reflect on how narrative itself is becoming and being reshaped in an age of constant distraction. With, with the photographer and cinematographers at its heart, this panel explores on how visual storytelling, which was once rooted in the power of a single image or a lingering frame, now adapts to the fleeting rhythm of the constant swiping. So the question is, can a photograph still hold attention when it fights for visibility on a crowded feed? Can cinema's depth survive when condensed to reels and just shots? So we've already had big introductions of our esteemed guests. So I would like to first ask a common question to all of you. So in your opinion, uh, platforms shaping the way that stories are told. Now that we're moving on to OTT platforms and people are watching movies on their phones, so are creators adapting to algorithms more than the needs of the audience?
You want Nirmal to start? Wait.
It's up to you, sir. So,
Hello, Nirmal.
How are you? Hey, Shehnad. Namaskaram. And Caesar, I don't think we've met, but hi, how are you? Harika, hi. I'll just, yes, the answer is yes, we are adapting to, I'll talk more from the direction side, I think, because I'm not equipped to talk about it. So, but we actually were in talks with Netflix for a show, and they had signed the show on and everything, and they dropped it, and we eventually came back to us and said, hey, that show that you guys had, it'll be really great for the current scenario because people are don't need to watch a show episode by episode anymore. They just need to know what's happening in that sort of 10 or 15 minutes. So shows have gone from 45 minutes to 30-minute shows to now they're coming up with minis, which is 15-minute shows. So there's a big change in the algorithm, and people want they call them like iPhone sort of shows now because not because you're watching them on the iPhone, but the fact that you can have them on TV and you can still watch your iPhone and go your Instagram and sort of all that stuff. So yeah, there is a paradigm shift, I think, in filmmaking. But I mean, I think there's also a space for traditional filmmaking. I think there's both, right?
absolutely. First, Jalal.
I shoot mostly feature films for theatrical releases. Only one film which I've done for OTT exclusively is Curry and Cyanide, which is a documentary. That is OTTs are giving I mean, internationally, there are, when if you go to Apple TV and all, you see very good documentaries on wildlife, nature, and very profound documentaries you get on Apple TV. But when it comes to Netflix, it's mostly crime. And earlier, there used to be a lot of interesting documentaries. Uh, but after that, it follows the same pattern,
Right.
the crime documentaries and all those things. So even while we are doing Curry and Cyanide, but it is on a real incident and all that. So we had the original footages, research material, and all that. But anyway, it tends to get into their format. We like a big company like Netflix. All that. Otherwise, the feature films, what we usually we do the theatrical release and then get into OTT. So we are supplying the same content. It's an original, then there will be their demands. Uh,
Right. So it's basically run by the economy and how profitable it can be.
yeah, I mean, right from the selection of teams, their decisions matter.
Right.
Yeah, if I may just add on to it, I think it has gone actually a little beyond OTT as well. Now, YouTube was there since a very long time, Now, if you see, just a couple of months before, Amir Khan released a theatrical release of his latest movie, Sitare Zameen Par. And then, following the theatrical release, instead of taking the regular OTT platform, he released it on YouTube, basically, basically on pay-per-view basis, and that has been a completely different, I would say, game changer. It has happened earlier as well, but this is some new way of showing people that things can be done in a different way. So I think beyond OTT, also different other newer platforms are coming in play. So yeah.
At the same time, really good work is also happening. Like again, there's a series called Severance in Apple TV, which is uh, like very outstanding series there. And even Scorsese's last film was released in Apple TV. I mean, some good originals are coming, but most of the time in India at least you have some kind of control. And right now, maybe things have gone political too, like to play a safe game.
True, true. So, with movies and music videos and even ads and everything that has been shot on phones, and everybody calling themselves either a photographer or a cinematographer and carrying around just mobile phones and basically not having the technical know-how of the complexity of cine cameras or even professional cameras. So, do you think that the rise of phone-based filmmaking and photography is shaping audiences' expectations of what visual quality is, and everybody just thinks that, oh, everything's great? Like, what is the difference?
According to me, yes, phones have taken a very big role nowadays in visual art, and definitely, if not, I'm not sure you are the person to talk about it. If not full-length feature films are being shot on phone, but definitely parts of full-length films are also now being shot on iPhones and etc. What I believe is the audience's preference about that high-grade cinematic quality of near perfection shoots have probably a little changed over a period of time, and the kind of footages that come out of mobile phone that is not that perfect, or that is not that kind of unreal, a little more realistic connect to that. People are probably connecting to that and probably thinking that uh, yes, I could also probably do that, something of that sort. So this is more real to, I mean, connect to real life situation. But having said that, I think that high grade cinematic quality of 4K, we talk about the IMAX and the Netflix originals kind of thing, they still have their own place. I mean, I think audience uh, is a blend of both the platforms. I think your thoughts.
Regarding photography on mobiles.
Yeah, photography, filmmaking, everything on mobile. Yeah,
So it's like everybody takes photographs in mobiles and all, but then uh, how many of them turn out to be good photographs? So like and how many of them are archived? You know, you even if you're using a digital SLR, the way people click now, you don't just click 10 pictures. That is, I mean, in 1 second, how many frames are possible with the camera? Right? You're not clicking one image. You're not taking one photograph. People are used to clicking
multiple. Yeah,
multiple images at a time, thinking, and there is this concept of the decisive moment in photography. And now people while doing this 10 photographs in a second, they think that decisive moment will be there in one of those 10. You're not sure of it. Like while like somebody like me who trained with film photography and all that.
yeah,
When I started still photography, those films, and so we are very particular about before clicking each shot because it was so valuable.
that's true. Yeah,
One roll of film is 36 exposures, and to get that roll of film, you have to spend money, then develop it, print it. So it adds that value for each frame. So coming from that practice, even even now, like while doing clicking or photographing with a SLR, you don't click that much, but that's not what you see everywhere. The same with if you're doing with mobile phone, also people will be clicking a lot, and a lot of that data memory is
True.
spent.
Everything.
And so it depends on your eye, your thoughts.
Yeah.
And in filmmaking, a lot of major filmmakers have done films in iPhone. Even in a few years back in Malayalam, the Kerala State Award for Best Cinematography went for a film shot on iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah. So such things are happening. So that it's just a tool, like you have to understand the limitations and advantages of each thing. Even for my first film, Chitra Sutram, which was shot around 2008, 2009 period, it was shot on 35 film, but we had footage from mobile phones also because the footage was, we couldn't get it otherwise. We had some visuals, we wanted to show it on that, we need to use it. It was shot on a very basic iPhone and all was not there. Like Nokia mobile phone footage, we transferred that into 35 and it is there in the film.
So it was a blend of both film and.
It was only one or two shots, but it was way back in 2008, 9.
Right.
That time, mobile technology itself was in the crazy stage.
While smartphones have evolved like anything, today people use it for photography, filmmaking, as you very rightly said. But at the same time, I believe the cameras also have gone through a tremendous development.
Yes.
Again, boils down to getting equipped with the AI tools in the modern days cameras. It can do wonders. Which, even 5 years back or 7 years back, people not even think of doing things which uh, these days modern cameras are capable of doing.
Yeah, what they're capable of.
Yes.
Doing. Yes. So Nirmal sir, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree with Sharon saying it's a tool, right? I was sort of a self-taught filmmaker initially, before I went to school. So I feel it's really great to have. If I didn't have access to film cameras at a point, I learned in film, 16 after that. But to have a digital camera, there's a lot of people with iPhones now. They go and make content. Yes, is it is there like a lot of digital noise and digital content? You're like, okay, this is overwhelming. Yes, but at the same time, it's also very freeing for a lot of people to explore the medium of filmmaking, right? And I feel not to look at a digital phone or iPhone thing to be to look. At least for me, when I'm looking at it, I don't look for just the visual quality, which actually adds a lot. Uh, but I think it's also the content they're putting out, and you can sort of start picking out fresh talent that way as well. Because I get a lot of stuff forwarded to me saying, "Hey, this is a short film that I've shot. It's a zero budget short film. This is a short film I've done with so and so people." And a lot of stuff you just brush by because it doesn't, you see it and you understand there's no effort behind it because it's just, hey, we're just going to go shoot something. But then you also come across sometimes a lot of people who put in, a lot of thought into the narrative, and you realize, okay, they have, they didn't have the means of a bigger production to make it happen, but they had this digital sort of phone with them, with they use. So yeah, and to that point, we also even in L2E Emperor and such a we also use there's few scenes that are shot with an iPhone, with Prithvi's iPhone. So yeah, it's great, and even if you're not shooting a film with an iPhone now, there's a we do a lot of our previous sort of shooting with the iPhone. So the digital tools that are available now are like great, I feel, and like Caesar said, with AI coming in now as well, um, there's a fine line between creativity and and stuff now, but it's how you use the tools that are given to you to convey sort of your message. And I feel with digital filmmaking, with the onset of that, it gives a lot more people access to tell their stories.
So now that we've been talking about phones and being capable and how powerful they are, you think we're going to see full-fledged films on maybe the vertical format?
Yeah, when it can happen actually because people now have a fascination towards that square format, 1:1. aspect ratio and all that. A lot of international films are being made uh, in 1.33 aspect ratio, 1:1. So it's getting narrower. And anyway, when your trailers or songs or something is released on Instagram, your compositions are naturally know, coming into this format. So you don't have any control over that because if your footage is displayed in a LED wall or something, when you go to a multiplex, you see different displays. Sometimes your compositions become, like it comes inside a vertical frame. So
Right.
that is
Unfortunately, we are born with eyes placed side by side. We're used to see like this, not this. But yes, I think the adaptive eye is getting adapted to the screens.
at least still photography has become like this. Most of the people will be taking mobiles vertically.
iPhone does hold like contests for their photography using their phones, and they showcase it in billboards around.
It does. In fact, even for longer format videos, also, I think the Instagram platforms like Instagram, TikTok, everybody has now developed technically. Even a longer video is possible to be uploaded. How popular it becomes, it's a matter because the films basically thrive from the immersiveness that it offers. Actually, I don't think that kind of immersive feeling is possible in that kind of a small scale.
In a small screen. I agree with that. Yeah. Bigger screen is always a lot more something that it feels like you're watching cinema.
But photography, I can, since I basically belong to a photography background, there are a lot of changes happening. Unfortunately, we are used to the 3:2 aspect ratio, which now becomes 4:5 or 9:16.
Right.
So, because if I talk about myself, I'm in the business of visual arts. So, if I do not go with the trend, which is happening in some of the strongest, unfortunate though, strongest visual platforms that are currently existing, so I'll be left behind. So, whether you want it or not, you have to adopt it yourself.
Right. So, Nirmal sir, have you ever thought about making a film for the vertical format?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I agree with the fact that my eye is trained to the traditional way. But it's really interesting. I got a message forwarded to me yesterday by one of my producing partners, and the subject was micro dramas on vertical format, and I started researching about it over the last 2 3 days, and it's really funny because China's micro drama, like sort of industry, micro drama, what they call it on their phone industry, they say it's like a $7 billion industry. Um, they're like want to come into the US market, and they want to take over sort of like the foreign market now. So the old head of AMC Entertainment, which is like a theater chain out in the US, and she's on Yahoo and sort of everything. She started her own sort of app now with four other moguls from Hollywood, and they're focusing in Hollywood only on micro dramas for your phone, and that's completely vertical. And I'm just like, okay, that they're betting, it's a big bet. It's like they call, I guess they're like an industry like mover and shaker is what they want to consider themselves. But yes, there's a lot of like press and money is being spent around micro dramas that are shot vertically. Have I thought of anything shooting vertically? I don't know. I feel like I don't think I feel like once you start thinking about that, you got to start thinking the way you write a content also has to change. It's like when you think about writing a feature, you're thinking, your first act, second act, third act structure, and how do you hook a person with it, with your different points. But I think when you start writing vertical format stuff, it's like 60-second and or like now like these are the thing they're longer formats, which is what these micro dramas are going after, even on Insta and stuff. You have to change the way you conceive the entire content in general. So no, I haven't yet thought about it, but I don't think we can get away from it at some point. At some point, we're going to have to like give it and say, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do as well.
The market's evolving, so it's not
Yeah.
something we can avoid. Okay.
Yeah. And
Sorry?
we got to send our creativity in whatever, it takes us, I guess.
Jalal, your cinematography often captures stillness and subtle emotion, and the lingering emotion of a frame is very important in cinematography. So, when audiences have lesser and lesser attention span, how do you take that into consideration when you're shooting a movie and when you're formulating the shots that you're going to do?
It's not that I'm very particular about static shots or anything, just that the makers, their style, I mean, uh, I mean, they also maybe like such shots now. But what I feel personally about like holding an image, or like you need a certain time for an image to register in your mind, like to get into an image, you get into the composition, the elements in the frame, you like feel the sound that is coming. There is, I mean, you need a certain amount of time at least to register that the feeling you're trying to convey. But most of the time, what is happening is it's like flooded uh, by images. When people are after yesterday also I was talking about this thing. There is this concept of lag in films. So you tend to run through. I mean, it also depends on your subject, and you can't always hold on to an image. So it depends on your filmmaking, the story you're seeing, the style you're following, and all that.
Have you have you ever had any discussions with your director or the editor and saying that no, we need to make faster cuts or we need to wrap it up sooner and don't have such long rush?
It depends on the film. No, if you're doing an action film or something, maybe it will be fast. Even if you're doing a fight scene, whatever, like it will be faster cuts and all that.
Yeah.
It's like uh, my I did a film called Traffic, the Tamil remake of Traffic, and that such a when you're shooting such films, it will anyway very fast cuts. If you look at a film like F1, the film demands that. It's shot with around 25 cameras uh, installed in a F2 car. So that time the film demands such fast cuts, so that speed you need. And again, if you look at a filmmaker like Ozu, who shoots with only 50 lens and the camera at a sitting position only. Like recently, I was watching a documentary on him, and his cameraman was saying there are just two heights for the tripod. Custom-made stands are there. If it's a wide shot, the camera is at this height. If it's a close-up, it comes slightly this much. That it comes down to that level of simplicity. So
Right.
so that is there. And it all depends on your vision of filmmaking.
I think it also depends on I mean, beyond the kind of film that kind of story that you're trying to say. It also probably depends on the platform you're making it for. And, you know, 1 hour edit that he makes for a film festival is not a suitable one for platforms like social media. That has a different audience. This has a audience behavior. Every platform has its own character. Like every platform, we call it grammar of the platform. The algorithm or the aspect ratio or duration of time for which the content is allowed to be played and all this stuff it differs according to the audience.
Right.
No, I agree with Shehnad. I'm a huge fan of his work anyway. So I don't think he owns for on purpose. I just feel like the filmmakers that he works with are people that really want like those emotions to convey, And I think there is, when I was first shooting a teaser for one of my films, the idea was to keep it just a static frame for like a whole minute on an elevator door, right? So the idea was you keep the first like 5 seconds, people are like, what are we watching? And then the next 10, 15, 20 seconds, they get into it. because then you realize that okay, something is going to happen. So the anticipation grows. First you're like, wait, nothing is happening. Then the anticipation grows, I think, and then eventually you have to like weave your style into that shot as well. So I think there's a lot to be said. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything to add.
Um, Nirmal sir, I have a question for you then. So, would you personally, as more and more people watch phones and in theaters, so do you think that maybe in your professional career you would change the way you compose or light a frame because it's for a phone?
Um, I think so. I mean, this conversation has come about, right? Um, I don't think I'd change the way I like I think for the phone because I mean depends on like Shehnad was saying as well. Like once the way we work, we have our feature narrative that we're putting out on the theatrical format, and then we're just flip sailing it to Netflix, right? So at that point, it really doesn't matter because and our final sort of feel that is what we want is we want it to be in in the theatrical experience where people are coming and viewing this. So we're sticking to like the traditional sort of stuff, right? Um, what we change is I get commissioned, which has happened. The conversations have come. If you are shooting sort of a mini series, now for Amazon or something, that's when it comes from inception, and they're involved in the very beginning in creating a show. Then there is conversations on how it would be shot and how they want it. I mean, it's really funny because they even reach out saying we want a bright, funny comedy. So it's like initially it comes off the bat saying we want something very bright, right? So even though you have a comedy and everything, the way there is a very clear perspective on how it should be shot. So yeah, the lighting would change. If I ever do something like that, then yeah. But for theatrical, I don't think we think about how it's going to look on a phone. It's kind of breaking sometimes when you make something and realize, oh, they're going to see it on a phone on a train somewhere, and the sound effects and everything you've done is they're probably not going to hear half of it. That's a little heartbreaking sometimes, but it's just what it is. But to that story, I'll just add when my first feature came out and I was doing the tour of all the theaters in Kerala, and I went to one theater, and the movie was playing. It was an afternoon show. I think it was like a 3 o'clock show or something, and the movie was playing. And more than the sound effects, the tweeter was broken. So more than the sound effects of the actual movie, I could hear a person was snoring louder than anything else. So the sound effects was coming from the audience more than because he was like snoring so loud. Yeah, sometimes even when you make your theatrical experience is also different, right? So I hope that yeah, so that's where I come from.
Okay. So I guess this is a question for everyone. Now that we're being well versed with phone cameras also being a really powerful tool, do you think in film schools and photography schools they're going to start introducing like an entire uh, like an entire section dedicated just how to learn to use these and increase your skill set?
Yeah, I think this is already happening, at least in our school of we also run a little bit of photography related education programs. In our school also we have a very distinguished two segments of learners. We do reel making courses and well courses. So they're the kind of audience that we get to see. A part of it, like 5% or 10%, then 95% would probably just do it for the social media.
Right.
And then there are 5% or probably 10% who would probably like to take stretch it a little far ahead, and then they join our advanced courses. So we have a very characteristic two different people because the purpose of learning that is different. So I think going with the trend, it is definitely going to come even with the products.
So, do you think that courses like this are making it more accessible for people to learn photography, cinematography, or is it diluting the art of it?
I think accessibility is definitely enhanced. Then people who are seriously interested in making it bigger, they have options to take it ahead.
Right, right, yeah.
According to me, I'll have a very optimistic answer. Right? Yes, it's working good.
That's it. Because phones now is something that everybody has, but camera equipment is definitely something that you have to invest in. What do you say, sir?
About training for.
Yeah, like having a separate curriculum.
I see a lot of workshops are not happening for mobile phone clinic
Okay.
in
So
Kerala.
it's already
Yeah, all these things are happening, and depends on what you're teaching. Like, because the technology as it is, it's very simple. Like the kids pick them up the most efficient way. I
In
think.
fact, the course that we run, I'm talking about our courses, we have named it as video content within bracket reels to filmmaking. You can start with reel making, and then if you are interested in taking it to the next stage, you can actually.
right. So, Dr. Caesar, I don't know if you all know, but Dr. Caesar has a frog species named after him because of the extensive work that he's done behind it. So it's the Hylarana caesari. So can you tell us a story about how this came about to happen?
It's a long story. I'll try to make it short. So basically, I started my. It all started as a hobby, and today it's a full-time profession for me. But I started as a bird photographer. In 2011, I was talking to him about one gentleman. He probably changed my entire viewpoint on wildlife photography. His name is Professor Satyabhama Das Viju. He's from Kerala, and he was a professor in Delhi University. He was running a project at that point of time, which is known as Lost Amphibians of India. Not related to anything that we are currently discussing, but just want to give you a little back end story to it. So that project basically said, Dr. Biju said that over a period of 100 years, there are more than 50 amphibian species that have got extinct from Indian forests. But you call a species as extinct when there are no scientific reports of that species for a certain number of years. So he said it's possible that they're still existing and we have not searched them enough. And so he launched a project which was that point of time, it was known as a citizen scientist project. Today there are lots of citizen scientist projects, but that point of time it was a very new name for me. Citizen scientist project is something where there are scientists, biologists as a part of it, and there are citizens like me who's probably connected some way to nature, could be photography, could be naturalist, also a part of the project. So we conducted several expeditions all across the country in Western Ghats and Northeastern rainforest, and we could actually rediscover many of those lost species. And in this process, I mean, there were almost 40 expeditions conducted. In this process, uh, we could also identify some of the new species which were totally new to mankind. And one such species, and once this was happening, we did a lot of awareness activity. And that was the time when I actually switched my lookout and I started thinking wildlife photography as a very different, through a different lens actually. So I found these amphibians could be so beautiful, so photogenic. Normally, what a frog is. It's always a brown and a dullish looking, ugly looking creature, probably. And that was the project when my viewpoint about amphibians completely changed. So we done a lot of workshops, a lot of talk shows, awareness drives. And then when these new species were discovered, one species was discovered in Maharashtra that's called Maharashtra golden back frog. So Dr. Biju was happy about what I was doing, and he named that frog after me. It's called. It was that time known as Hylarana caesari. It has been renamed as Indo-Silverana caesari. It's called Maharashtra golden back frog. So that's the story behind it.
That's amazing. So, okay, that was such an inspiring story because I don't think nowadays people are willing to put in the amount of work that goes into researching and the kind of taking work, to do it to and commit. So because everybody's looking for a shortcut, everybody goes to AI to look up for things. So that's really, really amazing. Um, so I want to ask, in your expeditions, single image can capture a lifetime of waiting. Like, you wait for an entire, perhaps days, or even, you spend your expeditions just waiting for that perfect, that that one moment where you capture it. So do you think, like I was talking, that the audience today has the depth and the understanding, um, to really truly grasp how much work has gone into it, into capturing, whether it's a still photography or creating a single frame, because there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think things have become. I mean, if you're talking about social media, things have become a little tougher these days because what I believe is the structurally, fundamentally, the storytelling has not changed. I mean, earlier also we used to do storytelling to talk about our experiences, untold, unseen, lesser seen, or maybe to establish a very deep emotional connect with the viewer, or to talk about some issues that are happening, political, social, or could be environmental, good thing, bad thing, whatever. These were the mostly the topics which you used to talk about during storytelling. Today also we do the same thing. Only thing is what has changed is probably the platforms, the formats that have changed. So audience attention span has become very, very less.
Yeah.
So earlier, as you were saying, and people used to spend minutes or sometimes even hours looking at a printed image mounted on a wall and trying to interpret the background story out of it. And today I have to do that job in 3 seconds. So that's, of course, is a matter of challenge. Even for photography also, I think it's the same thing. But one good thing that is happening in today's storytelling is it has become more collaborative storytelling. People today not only like your image, they share your image, they save it for future references, and they also do remixing, putting up a layer of their own. And so it's a much more collaborative learning in today's story. So yes, it is tough, but I think if we stick to the core element and be genuine to it, establish a very deep emotional connect with your viewer, you know, talk about the issues, positive or not negative, in a very genuine way, or talk about. See, I'm a nature and wildlife photographer. I use my photography as a tool to talk about the unseen beauties of nature. So people do take a pause to wait and read through it what I'm trying to talk about. So it is definitely possible. It's definitely not impossible. But yes, things are become a little more challenging. So
One thing like recently when I go to exhibitions, whether it be a painting exhibition or a photography exhibition or whatever, like people they're not looking with their eyes. Their eyes are mobile camera. You walk through the gallery like this.
Yeah.
So, so I don't know. Maybe whether they go home and look at it again, then it's better. You don't see it directly. You see it through this phone camera.
Sure, sure. So, Nirmal sir, what do you have to say?
Um, I don't think we have to wait hours like Caesar does. I mean, Caesar's job is probably way more harder that way. We get to sort of shoot and reshoot and plan our stuff out. So I don't know if that part of it makes sense, but if it's about the consumption part of what we've made, how it affects us, I don't think. I mean, I don't know about. I don't know how many of us. Um, I mean, obviously, we want consumption is a huge thing, but while we're making something, we're just making it truly sort of for that purpose and that moment. What we're trying to get that creative thing out, right? Like Caesar was saying, he's trying to show nature in like a certain way. And for me, for that particular scene, it's how do you convey that emotion? And I don't think you're thinking about the consumption of it at that point. But yeah, I don't think the waiting and all that stuff. I don't think that pertains to me like Caesar stuff. But it is because we get a lot of redos and all that stuff. So, but it's just about the consumption part of it. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, you're right. Like I agree with the fact that if there's something that people like now, they share and reshare. There's sometimes there's a bit of a film that may get overlooked at one point, and because they're just scanning through, but somehow somebody catches it, and then it just replays and replays, and because you have one dialogue or a song bit or like a theme that from a movie song wise that gets picked up by people and they sort of reshare, and then sort of this cohesive, collaborative sort of value of it start growing with the digital medium as well. I mean, I can speak to that personally because when Ranam came out, it wasn't like, it didn't do well theatrically, but I think 5 years later, there's like a huge following on the internet for it, right? Because mainly because of digital media. I think if that digital thing didn't exist, I don't know if it aged us that well, right? So yeah, I do agree with the collaborative side of it. But yeah,